Hello, my name is Carlos Da Costa, Chair of the Management Economic Society of CIM. Welcome to today's CIM MES discussion group presentation featuring Bryan Coates. Bryan has over 40 years of progressive experience within the global mining industry. He is currently the president of Normetal Consulting Incorporated, an advisory services firm to the resource sector. His presentation is entitled The Development of the World-Class Canadian Malartic Gold Mine. For those of you who are unaware of who CIM MES is, we are the Management and Economic Society of CIM, and CIM stands for the Canadian Institute of Mining, Mineralogy, Petroleum, and we are a non-for-profit technical society of professionals in the Canadian minerals, metals, materials, and energy industries. CIM's members are convened from industry, academia, and government. The Management Economic Society provides a home within CIM organization for mineral industry professionals whose focus is mineral economics and management, and we are proud to celebrate our 50th anniversary this year. Just to let you know, this presentation is being recorded, so you'll have access to the recording within the next couple of days. If you have questions for Bryan, please input them within the chat box, and either Bryan or myself or Jackie, who is the co-chair of MES, will read them out to Bryan. So without further ado, I will let Bryan take over. And one last thing, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor this year, and I believe it's IM Gold. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for the introduction. I'm very pleased to be here today to share some insights on the Canadian Malartic Gold Mine. So what I'm hoping to do today is to discuss the approach and the challenges faced in the development of the world-class Canadian Malartic Gold Mine by Osisko Mining Corporation. I also would like to demonstrate that Osisko Mining was a Canadian entrepreneurial success that contributed to the evolution of the Canadian mining industry. At Osisko, we were new. It was a company formed by Sean Rusin, John Brzezinski, and Robert Withers. And they basically sought out that Sean and John were coming back from Africa. And they basically sought out to look for large bulk tonnage deposits that many of us had worked around the world and trying to identify and develop. And, you know, as part of when the exploration success happened, and then it was moving to the next phase, the team coupled up with some ex-members of Canada who had an experience, particularly in northern Quebec, but also in large tonnage mines, having developed the O mine and the Rosebel mine in South America. Our motto was Beyond Nouvelle Génération, a fresh outlook on mining. And obviously, as a startup company and a company that looked to build to become an intermediate gold producer, we were different. We didn't have a rule book. We basically everything went, and you know, we were starting from scratch on the corporate side and also on the development side. So very exciting. It gave us a lot of flexibility. So basically, if we go back and on the history, from 2003 to 2006, basically was focused on the acquisition and discovery of Canadian Malartic. It was also the next period from 2007 to 2011 was to design and construct Canadian Malartic, to finance the development, to recruit a management and operating team, and to secure formal and informal permits to operate. The next period was basically to ramp up and operate Canadian Malartic into a world-class asset, which our dream came to a halt in early January of 2014 when Growth made a hostile takeover bid on Osisko mining, which ended up we found Agnico Eagle and Yamana, who in a joint venture bid for the mine, and we created Osisko Gold Royalties, which held a 5% royalty on the mine. Finally, as we can move on the history, last year, Agnico increased their ownership to 100% by buying Yamana's interest in Canadian Malartic. So here's what the dream was, or if we take it from feasibility study, and you see my colleagues, ex-Cambia folks, Luke Lassard, Paul Johnson, Luke, who was COO and who led the efforts on the engineering construction. Paul Johnson there, who led the efforts on mining, J.S. David, who was in charge of environment and sustainability, and Denise Simon, who was our first general manager and who had a big role in designing the mill. So basically, this was an open pit mine. It was a big mine for the Abitibi. The mill was 55,000 tons per day. We were looking at an average annual production of 500 to 650 ounces. The deposit in the feasibility study that outlined 5.4 million ounces recoverable. Again, an opportunity to buy one of the largest, and we delivered on that. We looked at a 10-year mine life and a life cycle of the entire mine of 15 years, including the exploration period and the closure costs. And the investment that we were looking at, and remind you, this was in 2008, was $789 million US, roughly $1 billion Canadian. We were looking to produce gold at a cash cost of $319. So, and if we couple that with the capex of $146 per ounce, so we were looking at a profitable mine. We were looking at creating 465 permanent jobs and 800 during construction. If we look at it today, Canadian Malartic has produced over 7 million ounces. Probably today it would be 7.4 to 7.5 million. It has been a top quartile producer, so low cost. The main pit was completed in May 2023. As we move forward in the history of Canadian Malartic, the owners developed the Barnett pit and developed also the Odyssey mine, which Bob Wares delivered during the hostile takeover period. I made an initial hole in Odyssey successfully, and the new owners went on to build up that mine into an excellent reserve base. Today, the mine has current reserves or resource base of proven and probable of 7.9 million ounces, measured and indicated of 1 million, and inferred of 9.5 million ounces. What the new owners have basically come to the table with is they've been successful in extending the projected mine life to around 2040. So again, great progress and more to come. The plan for 2024, according to the press release from Agnico Eagle, is to produce 630,000 ounces this year at a cash cost of $9.26 per ounce. They intend to invest $303 million in CapEx to go along with the $58 million in operating expense, and to invest another $20 million in exploration. They are also reviewing the utilization of the Canadian Malartic Mill for outside milling, whether that comes from Agnico projects or custom milling. It was interesting to note last year, Agnico had a number of investors and analysts on site, and they presented mainly the Odyssey. And the title of their presentation was Think Big. And I thought that was very appropriate. And I think it's the story behind Canadian Malartic. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Serge Blair, who's VP Canadian Malartic for Agnico, and his team for the accomplishment and also the support that they got from corporate from Agnico and Yamana teams in improving Canadian Malartic, because they've built on what we built and delivered. They have a strong safety culture and an excellent performance. They've improved community and government relations, particularly with the regulator. They've delivered strong operations performance. They've increased, and that's always music to all. They've increased reserve and resource bases, and they successfully developed the Barnett and Odyssey deposits. I think it's important that we look back at what the context was when Osisko discovered Canadian Malartic and looked to put it into operations. In the period between 2005 and 2009, we were living in an increased commodity price environment. There was competition for talent. Sounds familiar where we're at today. There were major projects that were starting to have major impacts on the supply chain. Obviously, Robert Friedland's Royalties in Mongolia was being designed and looking for a build. And there was tremendous amount of pressure on the acquisition of capital equipment and timing for deliveries. And we were missing a whole bunch of things. There was shortfall in tires and other supplies. If you bought trucks in that period of time, your biggest point of discussion with the supplier of the truck, whether that be Caterpillar or Komatsu, was it going to be delivered with tires or not? So there was major shortages throughout the aspect. There was also a time where there was increased awareness by the NGOs on the mining sector. They were actively participating in the approval of projects, and there was ongoing discussion on how, for once, the mining industry was making, during that period, the mining industry was making good money. And there was a lot of discussion on profit sharing with the communities and the government. So we saw a lot of that going on. There was also a period of, this period of time, there were some major crises in the financial markets. In Canada, we lived through the commercial paper in 2008, the commercial paper crisis. And as well, the subprime credit crisis in the US, which led to a global financial crisis in 2007 and 2008. So that sets the stage of the environment that we were working with in those days. So if we look at Canadian Malartic, this was a fast track to production. Basically 6 years from discovery to first gold pour. If you look at the, I was reading a few statistics lately, and that is now stands at plus 15 years from discovery to first gold pour. So again, testimony to this great mine and the support that we got. So the initial challenges we were faced with at that period of time was on Canadian Malartic was that it was located in a mining region. It was a former producing camp that had production of about 8 million ounces. The mine was located within the town of Malartic, in proximity to the town of Malartic. We required or identified that we were required to move 20% of the residents of the town and relocate also 5 institutions. This was open pit mining in an urban area, so a lot of challenges there, but also in the Abitibi, which had a long established experience with underground mining, but not open pit mining, and certainly not the size of the mines that we were contemplating at Canadian Malartic. It was a period in time where we were just starting on a new permitting process with public audiences in Quebec. We were one of the first to go through the public audience process, Bloom Lake being the other. So again, an interesting process, and provided with a lot of people to opine on the project, both people supporting it, as well as people looking to improve the project or questioning whether it should go forward or not. It was also the other challenge that we had is that Osisko Mining, it had converted its name from Osisko Exploration to Osisko Mining, was a new company, an emerging company that needed to fund $1 billion project. So again, very challenging. And remember, we were just coming out, if not still in, to a global financial crisis. So as we delivered the feasibility study in the last quarter of 2008, we were deep in the financial crisis and had just advertised that we needed $1 billion to make this project a go. This was Malartic before we got there. You can see a Northland tailings dam, the site of the operations. Again, no impact on no pits there, but certainly an area that was affected. And you see the town. And at the top, you see a golf course that we purchased, or we didn't purchase. We redesigned with Graham Cook, Montreal renowned golf architect, and that's where became the location for the new housing development. We drilled over 1,800 kilometers. It's certainly not that we hid. There was $115 million that was invested in exploration. You get to see we were right in town. You can see some very primitive aspects to try to reduce the sound and also the visuals. But you can see that we were very close to the population. And that was done with the support. And initially when the Osisko acquired the rights to the claims and before embarking to a drilling program, they had long discussions with the mayor at the time, which was Bryan A, and he was very supportive of seeing a new mine in his town. And we had outstanding support from Mayor Bryan A, Andre Vizot, who succeeded him, and the current mayor, Martin Ferrand. So they were very supportive in that. This is a new neighborhood that we built. We relocated 250 homes, including 140. We established a new neighborhood for 250 homes. We relocated 140. We also built 6 new institutional buildings. So total cost, total investment, $195 million, including $90 million for institutional buildings. So the community benefited from new infrastructures. And also this was a period of time where, before we could start building the mine, we had to invest $200 million into basically a real estate program. And it was a very challenging period because, we were doing this right in front of the people. So people were walking their dogs or taking a walk at night, basically got to follow the progress of the relocation of the houses. Also we were the subject of several opinions on that we were not very good at doing these housing relocations. But our construction and development teams were very anxious to get behind the fence and start building a mine. But we're very proud of the sector we did and the heritage that we gave to the community with the institution. This was the first house moved in early July, basically to do a demonstration street. This was the first one at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was pretty impressed by that. I attended the first move, but when I pushed myself, I realized that there was still 139 to go. So big task ahead. Peculiarity of this house was that it was the second time it was moved. It was brought closer to the mine previously when there was an area near Malartic that was closed down, and then being relocated to the new subdivision. Here's the school and elderly care facility, daycare facility, and a cultural recreation center that we built. I always like to refer that this was 50 years of politics. A community to get a new school built is usually promised in the first term and delivered in the second term. So basically 6 buildings times 8 years gives us 50 years of politics. But again, I think this is a great contribution that mining does. And there was $90 million invested in these infrastructures that didn't go, was not covered by public accounts. Here's a park that we built near the mining operations as we moved the houses and used as a zone, transition zone. So we built a nice park there. Here's a view here's a view from the south. Looking south, you can see at the top the milling operations. At the front is the pit, and you see the green wall that is 15 meters high, basically to reduce the visual impacts. You see in the middle of the wall stairs that lead to a lookout viewpoint so that people could look and see the mining operations. again, this is to me, this is all about transparency. There's not too many businesses or mining operations that allow the people to watch them work. But this was all part of our approach. Here's a view looking west. You can see the wall on the side. There's a 30-foot sag mill with the team, including on the far right, Ronaldo G, who's general manager of construction. Again, this was very large equipment that people had not seen. And this was a comment that one of the senior executives from Newmont gave me when they were visiting the site, that one of the challenges we'd have was to explain how big this operation would be. And there was a lot of controversy at the time on this because we built this mine and had a single line, so one side mill, 3 ball mills behind it. The other part was Detour was being built with 2 lines. So we had ongoing discussions in the marketplace which one was more prudent, etc. But we were very proud at our approach. I think and here's a picture of the pit in May 2023 that outlined that ceased operations. And I think Agnico intends to deposit tailings in the pit in the future. During the ramp up and up to first quarter, including the first quarter of 2014, when we were in the hostile takeover bid, you saw that we continued to progress, increasing gold production, driving costs down, and benefiting by strong margins. So that was a very successful ramp up that we had, despite having some challenges in the early startup with our crushing capacity. As you develop projects, and we're all aware of this, is that the key variable to the success of all projects is the commodity price. And for this one, we were blessed. We had Canadian Malartic was developed and has operated in a very favorable gold price environment. We did the feasibility study at $775 per ounce. We were criticized during the public hearings that this price would not be achieved and it was too high, and that we were enhancing the returns. Well, the story is that since 2007 the gold price basically averaged $1,400. In the last 5 years it's averaged $1,700 US, and on Friday it was 2,179. If you put that in Canadian dollars, we're close to the $3,000. So we've been, there has been achievements of records in the gold price. And from my perspective, again, it's my view on this, the gold market should remain strong due to favorable conditions that I think have pushed the gold price to where it is today. High debt levels by governments and individuals, geopolitical risk with conflicts that we have today in the Middle East as well as Ukraine, and again there's an ongoing battle of whether the US dollar is overvalued or not. We keep expecting it to weaken, and if that does, that's extremely positive for the gold price. So again, the gold price has had a very significant impact on the success of Canadian Malartic. I want to talk a little bit about the innovations that Osisko and pursued while we were doing Canadian Malartic. And I'll start with the acquisition of Canadian Malartic. The three founders and their team at the time really took a very interesting approach because they saw an opportunity to secure a gold camp and pushed away all of the barriers that they could. So they bought Canadian Malartic roughly for $80,000. The claims related to that. They had no interest, they had no ownership of the tailings or of the various buildings, etc. I was at Canada at the time when this came to the market after the bankruptcy of McWaters. Everybody was scared about the environmental obligation. So we didn't get to see the opportunity, we saw only problems. And that's really an approach from an entrepreneurial side where they see opportunities rather than issues. They deal with the issues down the line. So I think the very innovative approach on the acquisition of Canadian Malartic claims. Some of the other aspects that we innovated in is we had a very intensive investor public relations program. This was at the start of the development of the website. The host was a lady named Marie. She was an Air Canada flight attendant. Many believe she was virtual. So that was kind of interesting. But again, an innovation, in my opinion. We were very active with print and TV ads. We had people of Osisko ad in French, Jean Osisko, where we had TV ads during the national news every night. We had active print ads, and we spoke to a number of stakeholder groups, from chambers of commerce, municipal governments, etc. And if you were lucky enough to be sitting beside Sean Rubin on a flight, you would get the Osisko investor presentation before you landed. So very interesting at that point in time. So very active investor public relations program. We also partnered with our suppliers. This was big for many of the people that got involved in the project. I remember when we were granting some of the contracts. This was the biggest contracts that some of these people were signing up for, and they were worried. Many told me and Luke, we don't want to sleep with our bankers, and we don't want the pressure of this as you fund the working capital. So what we did to resolve that issue is that we devised a payment program where they would get a check every Thursday without even an invoice, but progress payments, and we'd settle the invoice after to allow them to meet on Friday. So, the benefits of that was that our construction team didn't have to deal with the issues that we find on many projects where contractors are coming in and they're saying, I'm not being paid, I'm not this, I can't make payroll. There's always a crisis to where we changed it where that the involvement was coming from the general manager of construction saying, well, how can you go faster? Because you don't have a money issue or whatever, we've paid you, etc. So that was a key aspect to our success, I believe. We focused on local purchasing, very important. On the community outreach and benefits, we got assistance and input on the relocation project. We were also, as I highlighted, the lookout for the mining operations. We held site visits, tours, and I think it's still going on with the local mining museum. We had 3 open houses during construction. The first one was in, if my memory serves me right, was in October of 2009, where we had over 700 people on a Sunday that came to visit the site. About a year later, we had another one where we doubled, so about 1,400 people came to visit the site. And the day before the official opening in 2011, 2,400 people came in to tour the site. Again, the focus that we were trying to do is trying to show what we're trying to accomplish, but also that this project belonged to the community, belonged to the region. And, we involved our suppliers to make sure that it was their project, not only ours. Interesting fact, large construction project like that, everybody went home to sleep at night. No camp, and the various challenges that those bring in. We had community liaison committees to help us through, and I think that has been carried over from Agnico, who have an ongoing dialogue with the community. Again, I think it was successful, but these were the early stages of these committees. I think these committees have evolved tremendously, and they are important. Again, we were starting. I think today, if we did the same project, we'd be listening again to a greater extent. We also established Osisko FEMA. We contributed 300,000 shares and had committed $150,000 per year. And that was maintained with the new owners, with the name being changed to Canadian Malartic. Obviously, for us to mine in the urban area was noise reduction practices. So we had to innovate. The big yellow trucks from Caterpillar and the shovels, they're not made to operate in a noiseless environment. As a matter of fact, the more they make noise, the more people have fun. So we had to challenge to make our own modifications to the equipment. We also tried to keep part of the history, which was important for us. If you've been to Malartic and the prior to Osisko being there, there was the cement head frame at East Malartic. We had to take it down, but we reproduced the head frame at the mining museum. We made a lower scale model, and there was also a water tower that people were very attached to. So I cut the legs and put it on a roundabout, again, keeping the history despite bringing in new operations. Talent recruitment was a challenge. People, Mayet and his team did an excellent job in creating a buzz about working at Osisko and Canadian Malartic. They had the Osisko Rocks tour within the university with T-shirts and on the back of various dates they were going visiting each university. So that was a success. We were hiring, we were trying to hire every engineering student that was passing through. We had an early established an employee share purchase plan. When we did the hostile bid when the hostile bid came in, I think there was a very strong participation of our employees that were part of the program. We ran promotion and recruitment for women, and we also invested heavily in training and development. We had an Osisko leadership development program in conjunction with Osisko Commercial University here in Montreal that helped us do a quasi mini MBA. And we focused on local hiring, including a very strong participation from Malartic. Other innovations at Canadian Malartic, we introduced a thickened tailing system, which if you, I'm sorry, I don't have pictures, but if you get a chance to look at them, I think they're outstanding. Again, this is where our industry is going, thickened tailings and dry stack tailings, reducing the risk of the tailings, as well as reducing the land impact or the area impact that we have. Part of our deal was also closing legacy tailings that had become an orphan site for the government. The other thing is that we worked at developing methods so we can extract and work over those stopes. Again, think that what we were doing is we were mining the pit over an area that had previously been mined out. So again, safety issues, the whole aspect there. We worked with the installation of remote control mechanisms for the pit equipment. We used MineStar, Caterpillar system that had its roots in Quebec with the Akira mining system. It was sold like any other new software. It was sold as something that was state of the art and ready to go. We did a lot of development with Caterpillar and this, but it was an innovation that was brought in. Finally, I think one of the things where we're also very proud of, our industry has come under severe criticism for not funding restoration. We were the first company, and it came out of a recommendation at the public hearings at the BAP, in the BAP report, that we fund closure costs prior to commencing operations. So we were the first company on a voluntary basis to fund closure costs. So we put in guarantee $46 million. So that was a first. Subsequently, the government of Quebec put in legislation, so all parties now have to fund this. But again, I think this was a major movement by Osisko that led to improved practices within the industry. Here you see some of the work that we did on the noise reduction, lining the trucks and doing quiet packs on the shovels. We also see the remote equipment, the use of remote equipment in the extraction pit. I think we were very active with dialogue with the host communities and stakeholders during the project review, the BAP, the site visits with the open door policy, establishing a monitoring committee, our work initially with the First Nations. The funeral, as I said, we also supported various organizations, industry organizations like PLAC, the QNMA, the Quebec Mining Association. We funded the Canadian, we started funding the Canadian Mineral Industry Education Foundation. So we were very active in that. We sponsored a number of team. Our highest profile one was obviously Alpine Canada, where we were a major sponsor. But interesting, when we did the Alpine Canada sponsorship, we also established a program in Malartic to provide transportation and equipment for kids in Malartic to go to the ski hill near Val-d'Or, so to encourage them into that. I mean, the sponsorship at Alpine Canada was basically because they went fast, they were aggressive, and we thought that reflected our image also. And the hockey teams, Les Foreurs Quebec Major Junior team, and the Filon midget team in Val-d'Or. We're also a very strong supporter of university, particularly Bob Wares, who made a significant personal contribution to McGill, and we matched that contribution. And on the sustainability, we also had a very strong local procurement policy established. We also made an agreement with the Quebec government to restore the East Malartic tailings, and so by restoring those tailings and put that into our operating plan, we reduced the footprint of the project. We also were a member of the industry. We were active in the dialogue, even though at times we were not a producer, on mining issues. We participated in Quebec government parliamentary commissions on mining and taxation. We were active in following the election of the PQ government and Mrs. Marois' government. We were very active in the debate on mining taxation and participated in brokering a solution that was viable for not only the industry, but the government and society in general. And we are also very strong advocates of the benefits of mining to society. You can see some of the events that we had. On the left is Bob Wares making the first public meeting at the Malartic Church, because that was the only place that could hold such a group, a large group like that. The priest was pretty impressed. He wanted Bob to come back on Sunday to try to help fill the church. You see the middle picture is one of our open house days, as well as the right-hand picture. These are some of the sponsorship. Obviously, a number of universities. We were, we actively involved UQAT, which is the university in the Abitibi, that helped us out on the tailings area, as well as revegetation, using their forestry faculty know-how. We brought Food de Caleb, which was during the opening weekend, the mine opening weekend. Basically, this is a story of rich history of Quebec. So we involved that and provided 2 representations for the people of Malartic. We sponsored Marie-Hélène on the ski, Marie-Michel Gagnon on the ski team, and again, supported the universities. These are, we focused on making sure, and we had targets to the government, that we would maximize the economic benefits in Quebec. And we're very proud of our record there. And as part of our public relations group, is we want everybody to know, and this is an ad that was placed in the major Quebec papers, La Presse, Le Devoir, highlighting all the contracts we granted to develop various businesses, and to show that this was a project in the Abitibi, but the entire province was benefiting from it. On the other side, we promote local hiring, maintaining a safe workplace, heavy involvement on training and development. As I said, 68% of the employees were shareholders when we had the hostile bid. We had very positive relationship with the Quebec construction unions during the development period. As you may know, in Quebec, the construction industry negotiates its contract on a wide basis, and we had to renew during the construction. But the word was not to touch the Osisko construction site. So that was very good. That was good we had good support. So that was very positive. I'd like to take a minute to tell the story about the lady that's pictured here. And this are some of the things we do in the mining industry that we don't tell our story. You know, we always say we're not being well recognized or that, but we're not very good at telling our story and the success story that we have. This lady was really wanted to get involved in the project. She was a high school dropout. She served breakfast to her senior management team that was staying in Malartic at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she would have active dialogue with Paul Johnson saying she wanted to drive one of the big trucks. And Paul told her, well, yes, but you have to go back to school, you have to get your training, etc. So her daughter went back to school. She had also dropped out of school. Her daughter dropped out of school and encouraged her to go back to school. She was earning, I think it was $14,000, you know, as a cook, working at the residence as well as the high school. She went on and completed her high school. She got her trades in heavy equipment operator. She came to Osisko. We hired her. She didn't get to drive a big truck because she was very talented at dealing one of the toughest piece of equipment, the grader. So she became a grader operator. So I think in 2011 or 2012, and she authorized us to share this with the public. In 2011 or 2012, she made $72,000 and paid $16,000 in tax. And, you know, had a full benefits program, all of these things. To me, that's an outstanding contribution of the mining industry. And not only that, she got training that are portable skills. So, you know, she could leave Canadian Malartic and go work for any construction, heavy equipment operator or the Quebec government, etc. But I think these are the types of stories we should be talking about. This was a publication, Women of Osisko, that we published in March 2014. Again, we were in full defense mode on hostile takeover, and we took the time to make a publication outlining the careers of 50 of the women that worked for us. And, you know, they covered people that were laborers in the pit to board of directors members. So again, that was part of our culture. Go on financing. You know, we had to fund $1.1 billion equity. We had to fund a $1 billion project, and we also had to continue on exploration, etc. So we raised over $1.1 billion in equity financing, ranging from what you see there. We did one of the largest equity financing for an emerging company in 2009. We went out for the deal for $350 million. And again, this is February 2009, so just off the springboard of the crisis, or in the crisis. The bankers called us back and they said, you better think about increasing it. So we thought, okay, they want 50,000, 25 million more. We ended up at $403 million. It had a warrant, so the total package of that financing was $643 million. So that was a big achievement and led us to be able to fund the project. And all the financing participants, or the issues that we made, people had the opportunities to generate return. We had lenders, we had great partners on the lenders. Cat Finance originally lent us $83 million for the fleet. They moved up to $154 million. We had the Fonds Solidarité for $20 million. Canada Pension Plan came in for $150 million term loan, and the Quebec government through Ressources Quebec, IQ gave us $75 million, and we benefited from their support as financial partners. And I just want to take a look now and to say, okay, we've done a mining project. Is it successful or not? Well, if we look at it from the government of Quebec side, we created wealth by creating direct and indirect jobs, by being very active on the economic front. Take a look at, the mine in 2024 basically was looking at $1.3 billion in sales. The operating expenditures, that should be $583 million and $323 million in capex, so roughly $900 million US, and it generates a profit. The other thing from the side of the government, they're the owners of the resource. We converted resources into sellable product, and we discovered some new ones, or the Canadian Malartic discovered new ones. High level of corporate and personal taxes. In 2001, I think the sustainability report from Canadian Malartic highlights that they had salaries and benefits of $131 million Canadian. And the taxes paid by the employees was $36 million, and the payroll taxes by the employer was 8.9. So $46 million went into the coffers. On mining duties, the mine has paid $453 million in mining duties, i.e. royalty paid to the government of Quebec. So again, very strong back to the government. And we've reduced the environmental liabilities related to the tailings. We look from the town of Malartic, we revitalize Malartic, strong business in Canadian Malartic, strong tax base, new infrastructures that they benefited from, and the ability to fund new development and the renewal of their existing infrastructure. I mean, who would not want to have a $1.3 billion US in sales business in their town, and that would spend $900 million? I mean, this is major economic impact, and this being done year after year. Here's the budget of the town of Malartic. From 2005, total budget 4.5. Today it's 11.6. You can see the contribution on the taxes. But look at the investment. In 2005, they couldn't afford to make investment. In 2024, they're looking at $9 million. So again, you know, Malartic is alive and well after, you know, nearing bankruptcy in the mid 2005, in 2005. We look at the employees, what were the benefits of the program? Stable employment, high-paying jobs, training and development, safe workplace, premium benefits, near home employment, not fly in, fly out. And, you know, Canadian Malartic has been a very successful business. So usually in successful business, you have happy people because people love to work and play with winners. We look at the suppliers, opportunities for contracts and supplies for 30 years. The suppliers also benefited from the expertise and also developing their courage to bid on new projects. Their experience at Canadian Malartic was transferred to other projects, particularly in Ontario with Detour, Rainy River, Cote Lake. A good friend, Paul Martin, who was CFO of Detour, was telling me that Detour put $250 million in procurement of goods and services and contracted services in Quebec during their construction. So again, major impact as a result of Canadian Malartic. And they participated in a successful project. From the shareholders' point of view, if you invested the first day in Osisko, you got a return of over 4,000%. There were two takeovers in all of this. Osisko being sold to Agnico Eagle and Yamana, and Yamana's interest being acquired by Agnico Eagle in 2023. There's been dividends. There's been increased value through discovery of new ounces, and this has been a very profitable operation. Here's the gold price, or share price, during the life of Osisko. Just want to go. Also, project success for the mining industry. I think the operations of low-grade bulk tonnage operations and gold camps was initiated by Canadian Malartic. We've also learned how to increase the dialogue with host communities and governments. For Quebec, as I said, there's a new financial guarantee program to cover restoration obligations. We had active dialogue to develop a fair taxation process for mining. And we had successful discovery of production by an emerging company. So, sorry here, just want to. So there were negative impacts. You know, the relocation of 20% of Malartic, and particularly some people sat on the boundary also. The noise and dust impacts and the visual impacts, but we have worked, I think that the benefits far outweigh the negative impacts. The lessons learned, need for ongoing dialogue with stakeholders on the financing, which is always a topic of discussion. I think the need to market again was demonstrated on how we did the financing at Osisko. I think there was no greater marketer than Sean. Be ready to be successfully execute financing. So have your legal financial documents, etc., ready to go so you can close the financing. Courage to all of you, good projects get financed. Develop and adjust your financial plan And if you can build some flexibility, you never go broke with cash in the bank. And it gives you a lot of flexibility. Another comment is know where your debt sleeps. That's, I think, is very important. And also talent is key. People convert deposit into mines, people attract dollars, and people build and operate successful mines. Contractors, they're partners, not an adversarial relationship. We had a fire at Canadian Malartic, and we were very enthused and surprised by the support that our contractors and lenders came in. So that's why that relationship is very important. In securing permits, give yourself flexibility during ramp up. Big thing. Be bold, dream big, and think big. So I think at Osisko we dreamt big. And I think Agnico is thinking big, so very positive, and also contribute to improving the image of mining. So why do I think Osisko is a success story and the development of Canadian Malartic is a success story? Well, we produced 7 million ounces, and we're looking to produce another 15 to 20 million ounces. It's benefited from strong gold markets. There's been substantial benefits generated for all stakeholders. I also think that this project and Osisko contributed to improving the performance of the mining industry. And at launch, it was a springboard to launch other companies. And I list those that are in the Osisko family, but there's a number of other companies that were also successful based on developing large open pit mines. Thank you very much. So I've been a little longer than I anticipated.
Well, thank you very much, Bryan. Wonderful presentation. So, indeed, Osisko's mines, Canadian Malartic gold mine is in Quebec is indeed a success story in Canada, and one that should be repeated throughout Canada on a regular basis. So, thank you very much for this presentation. We do have a few questions in the chat box, so let me just read them. Bear with me for 2 seconds, okay? The first one is basically says, what was the Malartic property a historical producer before the development of the open pit?
Yes, it was. The camp, I think, produced about 8 million ounces. We even had a director that worked as a summer student at Canadian Malartic. So it was active. Lac Mineral owned the camp, also consolidated the camp. But I believe there was about 8 million ounces mined in that area.
Okay. There is a challenging question here, and feel free to answer or feel free not to answer as you wish. Okay, so basically it says here the Journal de Montréal on April 19, 2022, published an article entitled "The Worst Environmental Offender in the Last 10 Years in Quebec." And basically it states that the Canadian Malartic mine was the culprit. What's your view on that?
So, good question. The point is that we review it as a very bad environmental performance and as well as a bad corporate citizen. We had challenges at the beginning with the noise. And we had challenges with blast. As a matter of fact, one of our blasts, which had some explosives that were coming past their due date, we had to blast, and it was filmed. It was on national news here on a Saturday morning. And part that we had was the challenges we had in the early part. So we were at surface, and we weren't able to meet the noise requirements. The noise were 40 to 45 decibel, 40 at night, 45 during the day. That's a high end dishwasher. As again, we made tremendous amount of efforts. There was also, I think the people will agree, that there was also lots of pressure being put on us to buy homes that were outside the circle. There were complaints made on days we weren't mining. So, a lot. So it was fine. I was in there when the fine was accepted by the new owners. We didn't meet some of the performance. To go to say that we were the worst performers, I take exception to that because I think we performed very well in the circumstances. And, if it wasn't for the courage of the Osisko team and the founders, nobody would be pulling 600 or 700,000 ounces of gold in the Arctic and having such an economic impact. Yes, I saw the article. I think it's unfair on that characterization, and I think for all the benefits that we have done, I'll take the judgment. And I think at the end of the day, is Malartic and is Quebec better after Osisko than it was before? And after, I shouldn't say after Osisko, after Canadian Malartic, and let Agnico continue. But I would say, and I can probably, get you the support on that. If we ran the survey today, I bet you would be in the 80% plus response.
Okay, thank you. Next questions. What have been the cumulative dividends paid to date since the beginning of the project?
Well, you can't really see that because the dividends were paid from, it's an operating company. We were just on the cusp of paying dividends when we got the hostile takeover. But then Agnico and Yamana paid dividends and they're blended from their operations. But the cash flow thrown out of Canadian Malartic sort of very strong. So they would have supported dividends on that. So they Canadian Malartic has sent a lot of money back to head office, if I may say so.
Okay, wonderful. And another question, did near mine and regional exploration continue?
Yes. One of the, and I can't comment on the strategies of Agnico and Yamana prior to that, but if you look at the land package that has been assembled, they grew the land package. They went into either old producers such as Camflow and Malartic and all of these things. So they've been moving all over the place to build their resource and reserve base and explore around.
And one last question, does Osisko hedge their exposure?
We didn't hedge, and I have never read that Agnico has hedged their production. So basically riding the wave of the market, and then it's been, from my perspective, has been a pretty good ride.
Wonderful. I'm gonna actually, okay, so for those of you who came late to this presentation and wish to review the recording, it's gonna be posted shortly. So I'm just gonna show you exactly where it's gonna be posted. Bear with me for 2 seconds. So if you go to our CIM MES website, you will find it eventually over here where it says national. Okay, on the right-hand side, you will see highlights from past CIM events, CIM MES events, and it's going to be literally placed over here. So you'll have access to it, I would say, within the next 3 days or so, kind of thing. So keep an eye on it if you wish to review the recording of this event. For those of you who've never seen our website, CIM MES, and I encourage you to review it. right? Because here you'll have announcements of upcoming events. We will be featuring a virtual student day on March 26th, and we've got a couple of days to mark in your calendar. So we're going to be offering a short course on mining financial modeling on May 23rd, okay, and another one on, I believe, June 19th, focusing on upstream oil and gas financial modeling. These are standalone projects, courses. And so more information to come, but a little bit about these two events are here on our upcoming events calendar. So feel free to review this at your leisure. Also, like I said before, if you've missed any of our past events and you wish to review the recordings, as I mentioned, they're all located here. So feel free to scroll down. And in some instances, you'll see videos. In some instances, you'll see slides. So they're here for consuming. So yes, so that's that. And secondly, if you were invited to this event and you're not on our mailing list, MES mailing list, I encourage you to reach out to us through here, stay connected, and we will definitely keep you abreast of upcoming events within MES and any relevant information that we feel is of interest to you. We do not sell information, meaning that if you share your email address with us and your name, it's kept within MES itself, so you don't have to worry about that. And yeah, that's about it for MES. So I want to thank Bryan for today's presentation, and this concludes today's discussion group event hosted by the Management Economic Society of CIM. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to see you in future events.